In the dense jungles of Vietnam, where death lurked behind every tree and survival often depended on split-second decisions and pure luck, Staff Sergeant Michael Rodriguez was leading his 8-man patrol through what intelligence had assured them was a safe corridor, when his M16 rifle suddenly jammed at the worst possible moment. What should have been a routine equipment malfunction that every soldier dreaded became the miraculous intervention that saved 9 lives from what would have been a devastating ambush that had been carefully planned for weeks by North Vietnamese forces. Rodriguez had been checking his weapon when the magazine release mechanism stuck, refusing to eject the spent magazine no matter how hard he tried, forcing his entire squad to halt their advance just 50 meters short of a killing zone where enemy forces were waiting with machine guns, mortars, and rocket-propelled grenades positioned to annihilate anyone who entered the designated area. This is the incredible true story of how a simple mechanical failure became a divine intervention, proving that sometimes the most dangerous situations can be avoided by the most unexpected circumstances, and how a jammed magazine became the difference between a successful patrol and a military disaster that would have left 9 families without fathers, sons, and brothers. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel right now for more incredible war stories and miraculous moments that reveal how fate and fortune can change the course of military history in the most unexpected ways. The morning of November 15th, 1968, began like countless others for Bravo Company's 3rd Squad, with the oppressive humidity of the Vietnamese jungle clinging to their uniforms as they prepared for what their commanding officer had described as a routine reconnaissance patrol through an area that had been quiet for several weeks. Staff Sergeant Rodriguez, a 24-year-old career soldier from Texas with 2 previous tours under his belt, was leading a mixed group of seasoned veterans and nervous replacements who had arrived in country less than a month earlier, still adjusting to the constant stress and hypervigilance required to survive in an environment where the enemy could be anywhere and everywhere. The intelligence briefing had been reassuring, with maps showing clear routes through areas that had been recently swept by other units, and radio communications indicating no significant enemy activity in their assigned sector for the past 10 days. However, Rodriguez had learned through hard experience that intelligence reports in Vietnam were often outdated before the ink was dry, and that the absence of reported enemy activity could mean either genuine safety or that the enemy was simply better at remaining hidden than American forces were at finding them. The patrol's mission was straightforward: advance through a series of predetermined waypoints, establish observation posts at key terrain features, and report any signs of enemy movement or preparation for future operations. It was the kind of mission that experienced soldiers could execute almost automatically, requiring careful attention to detail and constant vigilance, but not the intense concentration and split-second decision-making that characterized direct combat operations, making it an ideal assignment for integrating new personnel into the unit's operating procedures. Rodriguez had been particularly careful about equipment checks that morning, knowing that mechanical failures in the field could quickly escalate from minor inconveniences to life-threatening emergencies when operating in hostile territory without immediate access to repair facilities or replacement equipment. His M16A1 rifle had been functioning flawlessly throughout his current tour, with regular cleaning and maintenance ensuring that the weapon remained reliable despite the harsh conditions and constant use that characterized infantry operations in Vietnam. The squad had been moving through the jungle for approximately 2 hours, following a barely visible trail that wound between massive trees and thick undergrowth that limited visibility to just a few meters in any direction, when Rodriguez decided to perform a routine function check on his rifle. This was standard procedure for experienced soldiers, who understood that weapons could develop problems gradually, and that catching potential issues early could prevent catastrophic failures during critical moments when lives depended on reliable equipment. As Rodriguez attempted to remove his magazine to inspect the ammunition and check the feeding mechanism, he immediately noticed that something was wrong with the magazine release mechanism, which normally operated with a simple push of the button located behind the magazine well. Instead of the smooth, positive action he expected, the button felt mushy and unresponsive, refusing to engage the release mechanism that would allow the magazine to drop free from the rifle, leaving him with a weapon that was effectively unusable until the problem could be resolved. The mechanical failure was particularly frustrating because it occurred at the worst possible moment, when the squad was moving through terrain that offered limited cover and concealment, making them vulnerable to enemy observation and potential attack, while they were forced to halt their movement to address the equipment problem. Rodriguez knew that stopping in the middle of potentially hostile territory was dangerous, but continuing with a malfunctioning weapon would be even more hazardous, as his role as squad leader required him to be ready for immediate action if the unit encountered enemy forces. What Rodriguez and his men didn't know was that their patrol route had been under observation by North Vietnamese Army scouts for the past 3 days, with enemy forces carefully tracking American patrol patterns and identifying the most likely routes that future patrols would use. The NVA had positioned a reinforced squad with heavy weapons in a carefully prepared ambush site approximately 50 meters ahead of Rodriguez's current position, with interlocking fields of fire that would have made escape virtually impossible for any American unit that entered the killing zone. The enemy ambush position had been selected with meticulous care, taking advantage of natural terrain features that provided excellent concealment for the attacking forces while offering limited cover for potential victims. Machine gun positions had been dug into the sides of small hills that flanked the trail, while mortar crews were positioned in defilade positions that would allow them to drop indirect fire onto the killing zone without exposing themselves to return fire from surviving American forces. The NVA commander had spent considerable time studying American patrol tactics and had correctly predicted that the American squad would approach along the most obvious route, moving in standard formation with point men forward and the squad leader positioned where he could control the unit's movement and respond quickly to contact with enemy forces. The ambush had been designed to eliminate the American leadership first, then systematically destroy the remaining soldiers before they could organize effective resistance or call for reinforcements. As Rodriguez struggled with his jammed magazine, his point man, Private First Class Johnson, had continued moving forward and was now less than 30 meters from the edge of the killing zone, completely unaware that enemy soldiers were watching his approach through rifle sights and preparing to initiate the ambush as soon as the entire American squad entered the designated area. The timing of Rodriguez's equipment failure was proving to be miraculous, as it had halted the squad's advance at the precise moment when continuing forward would have resulted in catastrophic casualties. The magazine release mechanism had jammed due to a combination of factors that individually would have been minor inconveniences, but together created a complete mechanical failure that rendered the weapon temporarily unusable. Moisture from the humid jungle environment had caused corrosion in the magazine release spring, while accumulated dirt and debris had interfered with the smooth operation of the release button, creating a situation where the mechanism simply refused to function regardless of how much force was applied. Rodriguez's attempts to clear the malfunction were becoming increasingly frustrated, as standard immediate action procedures were proving ineffective against a mechanical failure that was more complex than the typical stoppages that soldiers were trained to clear quickly in combat situations. The squad leader found himself in the uncomfortable position of being unable to continue the mission with a malfunctioning weapon, while also being reluctant to abort the patrol due to what appeared to be a minor equipment problem that should have been easily resolved. The delay caused by the jammed magazine was extending far longer than anyone had anticipated, with Rodriguez spending nearly 15 minutes attempting various techniques to free the stuck magazine, while his men provided security and grew increasingly nervous about remaining stationary in potentially hostile territory. The squad's radio operator had already requested permission to return to base due to the equipment failure, but had been instructed to wait, while higher headquarters decided whether to send a replacement weapon or order the patrol to continue with Rodriguez carrying a backup weapon. Unknown to the Americans, the extended delay was causing significant problems for the NVA ambush team, whose commander had expected the American patrol to enter the killing zone within minutes of their current position. The longer the Americans remained stationary, the greater the risk that they might detect signs of the enemy presence, or that other American units might alter their own patrol routes in ways that would compromise the carefully planned ambush. The NVA soldiers were beginning to show signs of the strain that comes from maintaining absolute silence and motionlessness for extended periods while remaining ready for immediate action, with some of the younger soldiers struggling to control their breathing and heart rates as the tension of waiting for combat continued to build. The ambush commander was faced with the difficult decision of whether to maintain his positions and risk detection, or to abort the ambush and lose the opportunity to inflict significant casualties on American forces. After nearly 20 minutes of unsuccessful attempts to clear the magazine jam, Rodriguez finally managed to force the release mechanism to function by using his bayonet as a lever to apply additional pressure to the magazine release button, allowing the stuck magazine to finally drop free from the rifle. The successful resolution of the mechanical problem should have been a moment of relief, but instead it created a new dilemma about whether to continue the patrol or return to base, as the extended delay had significantly altered the mission timeline and potentially compromised the element of surprise that was crucial for reconnaissance operations. The decision to continue or abort the mission was complicated by the fact that the squad had already covered significant ground and was approaching their primary objective area, making it tempting to push forward and complete the assigned mission rather than return empty-handed due to an equipment malfunction that had ultimately been resolved. However, Rodriguez's combat experience had taught him to trust his instincts when something felt wrong, and the combination of the equipment failure and the extended delay in potentially hostile territory was creating a sense of unease that he couldn't ignore. As the squad prepared to resume their movement, Private Johnson, who had been providing forward security during the delay, reported seeing what appeared to be recent disturbances in the vegetation ahead, including broken branches and disturbed soil that suggested the recent passage of personnel through the area. This observation, combined with Rodriguez's growing sense that something was not right about the situation, led to the decision to conduct a more thorough reconnaissance of the area before continuing with the original patrol route. The decision to investigate the suspicious signs rather than continuing along the planned route proved to be life-saving, as a careful examination of the area revealed clear evidence of enemy activity, including fighting positions, ammunition caches, and observation posts that had been carefully camouflaged, but were detectable to experienced soldiers who knew what to look for. The discovery confirmed Rodriguez's instincts that the area was not as safe as intelligence reports had suggested, and that continuing along the original route would have been extremely dangerous. The subsequent investigation revealed the full extent of the enemy ambush that had been prepared for the American patrol, with positions that would have provided devastating crossfire coverage of the trail and escape routes that would have allowed the attacking forces to withdraw quickly after inflicting maximum casualties on the American squad. The ambush site was so well prepared and positioned that military analysts later concluded that any American unit entering the killing zone would have suffered complete or near-complete casualties, making Rodriguez's jammed magazine the difference between a successful patrol and a military disaster. The intelligence value of discovering the enemy ambush site was enormous, as it provided detailed information about enemy tactics, equipment, and intentions that was immediately useful for planning future operations and protecting other American units operating in the area. The discovery led to a series of successful operations that eliminated the enemy threat and significantly improved the security situation in that sector, demonstrating how a single mechanical failure had cascading effects that ultimately saved many more lives than just those of Rodriguez's squad. The psychological impact of the near miss was profound for all members of the squad, who realized how close they had come to walking into a carefully prepared trap that would have killed or wounded most of them before they could react effectively. The experience reinforced the importance of trusting instincts and taking time to investigate suspicious circumstances, even when mission timelines and operational pressures encouraged rapid movement and adherence to predetermined plans. Rodriguez's decision-making during the crisis became a case study in military leadership schools, demonstrating how experienced leaders must balance mission accomplishment with force protection, while remaining flexible enough to adapt to unexpected circumstances that could dramatically alter the tactical situation. The incident showed how mechanical failures and equipment problems, while frustrating and potentially dangerous, could sometimes serve as warnings that prevented much more serious consequences. The story of the jammed magazine spread throughout the unit and eventually became part of the informal oral history that experienced soldiers shared with new arrivals, serving as a reminder that survival in combat often depended as much on luck and circumstance as on training and equipment. The incident reinforced the military axiom that no plan survives contact with the enemy, and that flexibility and adaptability were often more important than rigid adherence to predetermined procedures. Years later, Rodriguez would reflect on the incident as one of the most important moments of his military career, not because of any heroic actions he had taken, but because it demonstrated how fate and fortune could intervene in the most unexpected ways to prevent tragedy. The jammed magazine that had initially seemed like a frustrating equipment failure had actually been the mechanism that saved 9 lives and prevented a military disaster that would have had far-reaching consequences for the families and units involved. The technical analysis of the magazine malfunction revealed that the failure had been caused by a combination of environmental factors and normal wear that individually would not have caused problems, but together created a perfect storm of mechanical issues that rendered the weapon temporarily inoperable. This analysis led to improvements in maintenance procedures and equipment design that helped prevent similar failures in future operations, showing how even negative experiences could contribute to improved safety and effectiveness. If this incredible story of how a simple equipment malfunction became a life-saving miracle has amazed you as much as it has amazed us, please make sure to hit that like button and share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever experienced a situation where what seemed like bad luck actually turned out to be a blessing in disguise? Do you think Rodriguez's instincts were as important as the mechanical failure in preventing the disaster? What other stories have you heard about how small incidents prevented much larger tragedies? We'd love to hear your perspective on this remarkable tale of fate, fortune, and the unexpected ways that mechanical failures can sometimes save lives rather than endanger them. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more incredible military stories and the amazing ways that luck and circumstance can change the course of history. Ring that notification bell so you never miss an episode, because we're committed to bringing you the most compelling stories that prove that sometimes The most important moments in military history are determined not by grand strategies or heroic actions, but by simple mechanical failures that occur at exactly the right moment to prevent tragedy.